right? The very interesting thing about uh, cutting a pattern for your wings is the fact that since butterflies don't have a particular shape, you can cut any shape for your wings and you'll be okay, and nobody would ask, is that the wing of a butterfly? So you determine the shape you want. I have come up with these shapes and that is what I use. Now I have cut, like I said, the shapes out, two sheets each, and then I'm going to place them together, and this is how I would place them together. And like I said, the funny thing is, if I want, I could place them together this way. If I want, I could reverse it this way. If I want, I could do this or this. So at the end of the day, the butterfly shape or design is determined by the design of the cardboard, of the molds that you already have. So shape out your molds. You can look at mine. This is my shape. You can cut this at the ends where I put them together at this portion. Those are the places where I put them together like that. So cut your own shape, any shape you want, any shape whatsoever, but make sure you have 4 wings, because when you have 4 wings you can be very creative about it instead of having just one big wing for each side. So I've cut out my wings now. The next thing, you'll discover that I have colors all over the place. When you are doing your butterfly, it's good to have different colors to make your butterfly with. So the next thing, I've prepared the wings of the butterfly. I would now go and sew around these edges with my sinamay bias binding, and then we'll come back when that is sewn and we'll place it. You'll see how I'll place it together. Okay, so now we're back at the table. We have cut our pieces, our designs. We have cut them out, 2 sheets each, and then I've sewn round the edges with bias, sinamay bias. Now I'm emphasizing sinamay bias because you could also use other bias to run the edges. You could use satin bias. Once you know how to cut on your bias or your true bias, then you're good to go. If you don't know how to cut the bias, there's a video on my YouTube channel. Go to my YouTube channel, check for the video how to cut sinamay bias. It will teach you how to cut the bias either on sinamay or any other material. All right, so we have traced the edges of our design of our wings out with the bias. So we're going to put this aside, and then because there are other things we have to prepare to make our butterfly complete. So the next thing to do is to do the body of the butterfly, which I've already prepared here, but I'm going to teach us for the sake of this training. I'm going to teach us. You already know how to do a cone. If you don't, go over to my YouTube channel also. There's a video there on how to make cones or lilies. So I've cut my square piece of sheet, a square piece of material. I follow the grain. I make sure I follow the grain so that it can be a very square piece of material. Okay, I follow the grain of the material, and then I fold over my square sheet to get a bias on this fold. If I fold it on any angle, I get a bias on the fold. All right, so I get the bias, then I fold it in 2 and I crease. I crease with my hands so that it will give me the space where I'm going to fold it. And then I do my folding this way. I wrap it around my fingers. I wrap it around my fingers and I do my folding. That's my crease in the middle, and then I pin down this side. Then I do the other side. I roll it over using my finger so that I can get a good roll. We're going to use this to form the body of the butterfly itself, since we're through with the wings. And then there, that is what I have. So I'm going to unfold it, and then I'm going to gum it down. But I'm going to do it one at a time, so that the gum will not make a mess of the work we're doing. You'll see that I'll just apply a little gum. I hope you notice that I did not apply it from here. Since this place is going to be out, I don't need gum to be there. So I just applied from around the place where it's going to lay on this material underneath. Then I wait for it a bit to dry up, because if I touch it and it still gums on my hand, that means it's still wet. Okay, it's a bit dry now. So I'm going to fold it down now and tuck it down, and then stick it down. All right. I use the scissors to help me stick it down properly. Then I will pin this end. Since I've done that, then I apply the gum once again. Note also, I'm not putting too much gum, just a bit. I'm blowing some air on it so that I can dry up quickly. It's still a bit wet. Now, why am I insisting that you wait a little bit for the gum to dry up? If you don't, it will make a mess of your work. But if you do, if you take the time, you'll allow it to dry a bit, just a bit, not dried, just a bit. And now I fold it over and stick it down, and so there. So you have this. Okay, all right, so you've seen me wrap the body of the butterfly itself. So that is going to go in the middle there. You see that it's beginning to look like a butterfly. The next thing I'm trying to cut here is what we'll use as the antennas of the butterfly itself. All right, so I cut my bias space. This bias space, I'm making it about 1¼ 1 inch and a quarter in width. All right, and then I'm trimming off the excess. And the next thing I'll do is fold it in two. And then I'll do something that might be strange to some of us, but I expect that if you are at this level, you should understand what I want to do. I'm spraying it with water. When you spray your sinamay with water, it makes it easy to stretch and make it more pliable. I've stretched it because of the use I want to put it to, and you'll understand what I've done by the time I'm through. So I'm going to attach it there, and this will go this way. I'm going to also attach the other one to the other end. And this one also will go this way. So to do that, now that I've folded this, I'm going to sew the edge together to give me the shape. I won't gum it. Some people might gum it if they don't know how to sew, which is important for you. It's very important that you know how to sew. So I'm going to go sew this now and sew the other end. And when I've sewn it, I'll come back, and then you'll see how it will all come together. So I'm back. The edges of the sinamay strips have been sewn together. it's important that they are sewn neatly together. They have been sewn together, and so like I said, they're going to go on the body of the butterfly that way. So I'm going to trim it so I can have, if you like, you might make use of it in different sizes, but I like to have even sizes. So I'm going to cut so that I have an even size. And the next thing to do will be to, now I could gum this together, gum this down. Okay, this way. Okay, so it's to fix it that way. I can gum it together, gum it down, or you can use, if you're good at needle and thread, you can use your needle and thread and stitch it on. But I'm going to gum it for the sake of time in this class. Right, here you have it. So my gum is going on there. Gum is going. Even when you have gummed it down, it will be good if you can still stitch it down a bit. You know that sometimes these gums, when they are dried, they could it will come off. So it's very good if you could also stitch it down with your needle and thread. All right. Okay. So I'm going to put that there. Stick it down. And then this will go here. And then I stick it down also. Okay, I hope you can see that properly. I'm going to hold it in place until I'm sure it's dry with a pin. Okay, so that I'll be sure it's dry. Because if I'm manipulating it and it's not dried and stuck in place, it can come off. All right, so the pins will be there, will stay there until I'm sure it's dry, and then you try it on. All right, okay. So while that is getting dried, I have my base here that I'm going to mount the butterfly on. My base is in black. You could flow with the colors of the butterfly you're working with. Okay. Okay, so we have the base that is already prepared to mount the butterfly on. So we leave that there. We come back to this. By now it should be properly gummed and in place. Instead of using the wet gum, however, you could use the glue gun, which is usually faster. But whatever you use, be it that you stitch it or you use the gun or you use the glue, make sure you do it neat. Neatness is important to the work we're doing. All right, so the next thing is to place together the wings. Because of the way I've cut it, and then if I place it together like this, just plain straight, then it won't form a curve. So I'm going to pleat. I'm going to put just one single pleat here, just a small pleat, and then I'll place this on top of it. And then I'll stick that in place using my gum. All right. I'll do the same thing to the other side. Put a small pleat and place this on top of it. All right, so and then this goes on top of it. I'll make sure that it's about the same size. All right, then the next thing to do is to stick the two ends of our butterfly together. I'm going to hold it in place until I'm sure the glue will hold. I want to be sure the glue will hold in place. If you let go while the glue is still warm, it might not stick properly. Of course, what I have glued together, I could also stitch together with needle and thread. So once that is done, the next thing is to place the body of the butterfly on the wings. And to do that properly, I position it first so I have an idea where I want to put my glue. I'll put the glue at the center. And then I'll place my butterfly and hold it firmly in place till I'm sure it's okay in place. While I'm doing that, I'll have to be careful so as not to flatten the body of the butterfly there. All right. So the next thing to do, I'll still leave this hanging until I'm ready to finish it. Okay. Now, the next thing to do is to place the butterfly, mount it on the cap the way I want it. For example, if I want it this way or I want it this way, I determine the way I want it to stay. I determine it. So I come back to the table. I take my Alice band and then I mount. Try it again. How do I want it? Okay, I want it this way or this way. Any way you want it, you mount it. I'm out of glue, so I'm adding another glue there. So you add some glue on your Alice band. You have to be sure that is exactly where you want it to be, however, so that it sticks down, and hold it in place till you're sure it's dry. Hold it in place till you're sure it's dry. Okay, so it's in place. So the next thing to do is to mount our butterfly. I want the butterfly to stay this way. Mount it. So we're mounting now. I'm going to apply a little bit of gum here. Okay. The gum is not very hot yet. That's why it's alright. So stick it. Like I've shown you earlier, you determine the direction you want your butterfly to stay on. So if I stick it on this way, that's how it's going to stick it. And then the next thing is to stick the end in between the wings. And this also will go in between the wings. Make sure that when you stick it down, you don't put it in such a way that it will lay flat. You put it in such a way that it will raise up. Alright. Now, if you look at my butterfly, it's a bit wide. With practice, you know how small or how large you want your butterfly to be, and then you will adjust your pattern, your paper pattern, as big or as small as you want it. All right, so we have done that. We are not done yet. However, you remember the feathers. The feathers are going to go on. I'm going to use 2 feathers on each of the sides. I'll put 2 here and 2 here. You have to be careful in doing this so it ends up being neat. I'm going to use the end of that bamboo to stick it in place. It's not sticking in place, so I'm going to do it again. Like I said, whatever you do, make sure it's neat. I'm going to put pressure until I'm sure it's still. And I'm going to take another. And like I said, the fact that I've used these feathers doesn't mean that you would use the same kind of feathers. You can be innovative, look for feathers that you can use that will be just what you need. Okay. I want to stick it in place in such a way that it will come up onto the wings a bit, because these feathers are a bit, the stalks are a bit light. So depending on the feathers you are using will determine how you want it to stand. Alright, okay, so we have our feathers there. Now the next thing to do is to add our pearls. Since we're dealing with peach, blue, pink, black, and we go with, let's look at what will match. Okay, that could work. Or we can use purple to brighten it the more. We can use purple. Is purple okay there? I think I'll go with the one. I'll go with the one. So the next thing to do is to place, first of all, you do the eyes like things for the butterfly. You have to do this careful. Careful. All right. And then so you determine the colors of pearls that you would like to use on your butterfly. Because I've used those for the eyes, I'm thinking of using other colors on the body.